I guess my brain is now tied to where we've been at the site, so like that's how I'm thinking from the site's perspective.
Like from Chris?
Yes, from Chris.
That's why we have you do that first.
Yes,
and then
so it's
this.
like that's what I'm thinking. I'm looking more for things that we might have missed when we were there, and for the most part, it was like when I was looking at the sub-I, for instance, for some of the stuff that I was looking at, one of the subjects.
Yeah, sub-I.
He did not put like how you have to put the circle clinically significant or whatever.
Yeah.
They just signed it, but they did not put the CS.
That happens a lot.
And I was like, okay, that should be something that should be mentioned.
Yes. So you found that in your today or yesterday?
No, today. As in, it's one of the things that I guess I got drawn to.
It still was blank?
Yeah, it was blank.
That means the real monitor for the study never caught that.
Yeah, it was signed, but it was not circled.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever is that. And
so you're catching things the real monitors are missing.
for RWB, yeah, that was the subject. Yeah. I have to
Okay.
write it down.
So the CS and NCS, that's actually a big thing. I mean, it's like a late entry, you know, they would have to then circle it in late entry initial. And these are things that, as a site, you don't care too much about, but as a CRA, it's like a big deal. It's the complete opposite of what you did with Chris yesterday. Like the priorities are totally different as a monitor. Way different. But you can, this is why a lot of CRAs struggle to own sites.
Yeah.
Because the way they're used to looking at this is from a different perspective, and then it's not practical as a site. They're focused on the wrong things.
As a CRA, or as a site owner.
As a site owner that was a CRA. Yeah.
Okay.
The best site owners come from coordinators, like Monica.
Okay.
I mean, that becomes the best site owner. And matter of fact, her and I will own a site.
Okay.
You know, we're just grooming her to do that. Like that's her long game.
Okay.
I told you she was an entrepreneur, just dressed
Right.
like this.
I can. I mean, you can see even.
But you see, the ones at the other clinic are not that way.
Yeah, we didn't even talk to the ones at the other clinic.
Right, but that shows you like employees versus like go-getters.
Right. Okay.
But they're both good.
They just have
But just a different
Yeah.
agendas.
a different switch for an entrepreneur.
That's right.
Because she
But
came in and introduced herself to us this morning.
Yeah, I didn't even tell her doing anything. She just so I think the best site owners are coordinators first. Not to say the CRAs aren't, but they have to like relearn it. Because you saw like what you mentioned yesterday, Chris has never been a CRA. Actually, that's incorrect. He has been now. But he's focused like that lecture that he gives you guys, or assignment, whatever you call it, is more from the site perspective. And this, I do it purposely. I can do both, but I know you guys are missing this. So I do it from like the CRA's perspective. And it's all very different. Like recruitment is number 16, you know, but it's only like 3 things. At a site, that's like that's all that matters.
There's no site without recruitment, though, right?
You're not going to get paid.
Right. Those are people,
Unless you're a university and you get a grant, but for most sites, you don't get paid unless, not even screen, randomize.
Okay.
You can't just screen anybody. I mean, you're just wasting time and money because you got to pay the patients too.
Right. Okay.
So that's the main difference, and that's why CRAs tend to not make the best site owners until they switch their mind. And it takes time, but a lot of our clients are CRAs for the consulting that we do. So they could be good. It's just they have to readjust.
So readjust the mindset.
Yeah. What else do you find? So not clinically significant. So what would you do like in that case if you were monitoring and that's what you found out? What would that would just be an action item, or?
I would I would put it in my notes and then mention it to the coordinator, because the coordinator is the one who's in touch really with the sub-I in this case.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's not a huge deal, but it is like, if it's left like unchecked, it is, because what if it actually was clinically significant, but they just overlooked it. Or it even shows for PI oversight, because you said that was the sub-I. But is the PI even signing it at all? Because the PI is supposed to co-sign everything. Even if the PI like delegates activities to sub-investigators, which they can, PI can do all that.
But they still have to go back and make sure that's been
they have to have their footprint, right? Like, if I'm the PI and I just sign it, that's cool, because it shows that I looked at it. But if I sign something that's missing a circle on a CS or NCS, and that happens often, then an auditor is going to say, this guy's just signing things without looking.
Okay.
Because how is this lab value, frequent lab values are left without CS or NCS. And you get in trouble if it actually is NCS, and you didn't see it, and then the patient gets a SAE. Whereas if you would have paid attention, you could have stopped, you could have withdrawn the patient from the trial. So these little things could become big things. But just by itself, it's little. But if it
Down
leads
the road,
to an SAE,
it could be big.
yeah,
Well, that could be the start of something big.
Yeah.
They're not paying attention.
maybe it starts like, and they could have taken the patient out of the study if they would have seen that. But if they're just signing without looking, because the PI thinks the sub-I looked, so he trusts him and he just signs. That's literally how PIs sign things. They're given a stack of papers and they just go like this.
Right.
They don't flip the page, they just go like this. So this is, if it's on the top somewhere.
You can put anything in front of them, technically.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's patient health is in jeopardy. It could be. Most of the time it's not, but that's why we CRAs have to be sticklers about it, because it could be. And then if you miss it, I mean, you're the last line of defense before the FDA. Like, if you miss it, then there's really no more defense.
What happens, and well, I know what ultimately could happen, if a site is not doing something that's big or potentially big, the CRA misses it also, and all of a sudden it blows up down the road. So, obviously, you could lose your job. Obviously.
You could,
As a
yeah.
CRA.
But it wouldn't be a scarlet letter if you have experience.
Okay.
But yeah, you would lose your job at that place.
Okay.
But you would know, the writing would be on the wall, and you would resign before they fired you, and be working somewhere else the next week.
Okay.
Because the experienced CRAs are
Hard to come by.
Yeah. The unfortunate thing is that CRA, maybe it's fortunate, it's not like a scarlet letter that they're gonna wear for the rest of their career. As anyone else would hire them. The real issue that I would be concerned of as a CRA, and like honestly, it's not just saying it, especially when it's something like cancer, is if I miss something, let's say the site misses something because they're busy, okay? That's understandable. I miss something because I'm lazy, and now the patient dies or has, I have to live with that. Forget about my boss. I gotta sleep at night, and I'll be like, oh, I could have prevented someone from dying or getting sick, and it's just because I was lazy, or maybe not lazy, but I could have done better.
I didn't catch it, for whatever reason, and it's on me.
Yeah. And the site would feel the same way too, but I mean, if they're just because they're busy, it's like, well, we kind of did everything we could. We should have, paid more attention. But as the CRA, there should be no excuse. That's why they're paying you the big bucks. So that's really, for me, everyone's different, but for me, that's what keeps me focused as a CRA. Because I don't care if I lose my job. I mean, I don't. But if I could have prevented somebody from getting sick or dying, which hasn't happened, thank God. Not even at any of my sites. The worst that's happened was a patient committed suicide. But we do psych, so that's that comes with the territory. But yeah, we've never had something because of negligence or laziness that something happened. Something big like that would happen.
Okay.
Of course, findings, deviations, sure, but as long as it's not affecting like patient safety to the point where it affects their health, like we're okay with that. So that's like the worst that could happen. That's the way I look at it. But of course, some are like, hey, as long as I don't lose my job, it's all good. But they gotta sleep at night. I don't know. But it's not that. It's rarely that extreme unless you're in. If you're monitoring a high volume clinic like a hospital, that's a possibility. Like a university.
That someone could die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Especially if it's like cancer and
Right.
they're taking a prohibited med, and on cancer patients take like 50 meds.
Right.
So like their ConMed list, it's not like these ones, it's like
Pages
a
long.
book of just meds. So if you miss one, like you could miss one and it could be like contraindicated. Even the PI could miss it. You know, and then it causes an adverse reaction with the IP.
Okay.
Then, you know, so I worry about those kind of things.
Okay.
And that's why they pay you more as a cancer monitor too. Because you're supposed to know that stuff. So it's not all like fake it till you make it, because people's lives are on the line in those cases.
Wow.
But luckily for you guys, when you're relatively new, you're not just thrown into
Oncology site.
that would be a nightmare. Unless you know, like that's why I asked them yesterday, do you have oncology experience? And they do.
Okay.
Like they would do well. They would know what meds interact and
Okay.
you know, like Beatrice brought up, if somebody withdraws from a study, can you just like take them off of their meds? And the answer is really like the protocol, whatever the protocol says. But if let's assume the protocol didn't have that, and it's a flaw in the protocol, you kind of need that medical expertise to know, right? Like the site could be following the protocol, but it's still maybe not good for the
For the
patient.
patient, yeah.
So they still have to take it, maybe.
Depends.
Or there could be like a schedule, like a titrating schedule. And it's
Okay.
because of hypervigilant CRAs like that, who would put that in their report, that would cause the sponsor to maybe make an amendment to the protocol
Okay.
and possibly like help, you know, patient outcomes better for the study. So that's
Okay.
why that's why they like RNs for those
Because
kind
they
of
have
things.
that.
Yeah. So for you guys, you would probably start out like slower, and then you would learn those things as you go along. And especially like when you start specializing in one therapeutic indication,
Okay.
like you would get really good at those ConMeds, really good at the assessments. We'll talk about on your CV tomorrow, but whatever indications you put on your CV, you should know like the top 10 treatments that are available on the market, and then like the top 5 or 10 assessments for that particular indication, because they could ask you those in the job interview too. You'll only have 3 studies on your CV. I think a SCITS, Alzheimer's, and irritable bowel syndrome. So it's Alzheimer's. So you'll learn those meds. You should Google those if they ask you. And then as you do it more, you'll learn more about those kind of contraindications and things like that. Common side effects of some of these, like Zyprexa for schizophrenia, can cause diabetes. So like things like that you wouldn't know until you're in it.
Okay.
That where you can actually be an asset to the sponsor. And if you're the CRA that caught that sponsor is gonna love you.
Okay.
And Beatrice brought that up, and nobody brought that up. And it's because she's an RM. She thinks that
Okay.
patient safety first for her.
Well, of course, because that's the oath that she took as well.
Yeah. So, but for you guys, you'll learn those kind of things. But with her, she starts out with that.
Okay.
So that's why it's different. But yeah, so that's the worst that can happen. What did you guys find? What else did you find?
I was just disturbed by the initials, the doctor's initials. At first I thought they had switched the PI. At one point it's WC, and then the next time it's DC. Like he would initial DC and WC. I'm like, I don't know how that works.
Okay. So, yeah. So that goes to Alcoa. What is Alcoa? Attributable?
Legible,
That would be that one. Legible,
Contemporaneous,
contemporaneous,
original, and
accurate.
accurate.
and then complete. So yeah, that'd be this one. So yeah, And delegation of duties log, right? This PI's name, the reason they ask for initials as well is when you're looking at another document with initials and you don't know who it is, you can point to the delegation log and see who that is. But if they only have one initial and they're using, both kinds, you have a problem. So in those cases, the site should do a note to file and put it right on top of the delegation log that says this guy uses these initials or these initials, just based on how he's feeling, or
Just based
he
on
just
what-
alternates.
Okay.
I've seen some doctors that sign like that one time and then sign like this another time. And like, I've had monitors ask me, who is this person? Because on the delegation log, it would show like their formal signature. Like when they have time,
Right.
you sign nicely. And when you're in a rush and like Monica just gives you something, you're like that.
Mhm.
But that's true because you don't know who this is. Unless you have a note to file explaining these are the different signatures. I've had to do that a few times for RPIs.
Okay.
So those little things too, like that. But auditors really care about that. FDA auditors really care about that. And then what you don't want is someone who's not on the delegation log signing things. Right? So that's a good finding. No one's brought that up before. That's good.
And then I was wondering, when you asked here, that was the pharmacy visited at this visit, right? Because I noticed it's basically the central lab. Is that what they're referring to?
No, the pharmacy, when they use the word pharmacy, it means where the drug is kept at the site.
Okay.
Yeah. They get that from hospitals and universities where there actually is like a pharmacy,
Okay.
usually in the basement or somewhere on the bottom floor. But for like a private site like this, it's just I don't know if you saw it. Monica can show you tomorrow, but it's that room
In the corner,
back there.
She took us there for training, for the
Back there
training.
this morning.
Yeah. Okay. So that one, and she's gonna do IP accountability with you next. And I want you guys to meet Jackie too because she took the CRA Academy. She's local.
Okay.
Took the CRA Academy last year. Got hired as a coordinator, and now is like climbing that ladder. She's doing good. She's an inspiration. I should have her come teach the class every now and then, like a guest. What other issues do you guys find?
She did most of the finding. I did most of the I'm doing the headlights, right? So
And that's how it is.
yeah, this was not a good morning for you, boy.
What about site initiative? So you did not do this. But what about like a SIV? Do you know what? Let's say, and this I asked them too. But let's see if you guys get it. Let's say you have a site initiation visit to do, and the sponsor gives you the agenda. Okay, and it's supposed it's gonna take like 3 or 4 hours. You send the site your confirmation letter, and the site says, sorry, we only have 1 hour. What do you do?
Between the sponsor and the site.
Yeah. But the site tells you 1 hour, so you got to do your visit in 1 hour. What do you focus on?
Regulatory.
I would focus on this.
Right, but what part of regulatory? There's one, like the most important thing at SIV, in my opinion. I could be wrong too, but I think I'm right.
I think I'll always go back to training in my head.
The training.
Yes,
The training.
yes. A training log, okay?
Okay.
So at the SIV, the monitor is supposed to train all the staff in attendance. So if you only have an hour, you get all the staff in there, 30-minute training, right? And then the other 30 minutes, you look at the regulatory binder, like you said.
Okay.
If you don't have time to collect everything, you ask the coordinator to email them to you.
Okay.
And then you look at their drug, make sure it's there, and the lab kits. Everything else you can do through email. And these are things they ask in these interviews, like very specific. And there's not necessarily a right or wrong. It's just they want to see how you're thinking on your feet. Like, what would Jackie actually do in this case? Because he has this on his CV, but let's see. And I brought this scenario up because that happened to me on Monday when I monitored.
Okay.
And I had to think on my feet too. I was like, well, this is the most important thing, and then I'll try to do everything else.
You say you look at you look at the training binder, or you would train?
I would do the training.
Training
Yeah, so
and
you're
the
supposed to
rate.
present the protocol slides,
Okay.
and then at the end have everyone sign it.
Okay.
So at least you get that.
Okay.
You can get the regulatory scan to you from the coordinator later. And then you can make sure that you can physically check that there's drug there and there's lab kits.
Okay.
And then if you have more time, you can ask them, do you have EDC access? Do you have IWRS access? Do you have your contract and budget done? Those things you can even do by email. But when you're there, like you can't, like if you forget the training log, you can't get that hour back.
Okay.
Right? So that you need that physically signed. That's why I think that's the most important. Because anything else I forget, I can always ask via email. But I can't go back and get that
train.
signature. Or train, yeah. So that's a scenario question. And they ask a lot of things like that. I get like viewers that send me questions they got in jobs. And a very common one is, what do you do when you show up to a clinic for your monitoring visit? Let's say an interim monitoring visit, and the front desk person tells you the coordinator is no longer there, or the coordinator is not there today. What do you do?
So ask for the delegation log. It's not there that day or just left.
We don't
You
know.
don't know.
Yeah. What do you do?
Well,
Do you
this
go
person
home?
have access.
Do you go home?
Well, you can't go there. No, you don't. You're not going home. You still got to go through.
You have to stay there and look through the delegation log.
Right, but what if they say, I don't know what that is?
Who's in charge of the
I don't know what
delegation
that is. It's just a receptionist. What's a delegation log?
Where's the PI?
Okay, that's good. That's good.
I need somebody above you.
Yeah.
Right?
But there's usually
Is
like
anybody here
yeah,
that has
study
access
coordinator.
to these documents? I don't need the coordinator, I just need the documents. That's like something along those lines.
Okay.
And the reason they ask it is that's happened to every CRA if they've been doing this for 2 years or longer.
Okay.
And when people put 2 years on their CV and they don't know how to answer that,
Question.
they can tell that
Question
it's
to
not
you.
true.
Okay.
If it's 6 months, then maybe you haven't experienced it. But 2 years, you've pretty much experienced everything as a CRA in 2 years. So they ask a lot of those behavioral type questions.
Okay.
And it's impossible to memorize answers, you just have to memorize
The
themes.
situation, scenario.
Themes. Like PI oversight, regulatory, training, those are themes. Safety, those are themes. So any time you get a question, even if you just say safety, like it makes sense, right? So I would tell that receptionist, is there anyone here, or if I've been to that site before, I would tell her, let me go monitor. I know where the books are. You know, you can go get them. If they don't let you take the binders, then I would call the PI and say, hey, this is your responsibility. I'm here. I can't leave. I have to at least do some monitoring today. And we got to talk later about your coordinator. Either they left or they didn't let me know they wouldn't be here. Those things happen. What else did you catch?
I noticed, so one of the binders seemed to have like the screen failures.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
you put them all in this one binder?
correct.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
That you can do, like sites can do it any way they want, but usually we put all screen failures in one binder with dividers.
So, but would they be, because I noticed like the first one probably had like the same PI, then the next one, PI was different, but yet I see consistency with the PIs, the same PI in all the other binders. So it made me wonder, the screen failures for like all random studies?
No, it should be just for that study.
Okay, because I thought I saw a different PI.
You might have seen a sub-by.
Because the sub, I mean, it was the same. like, It was K, it was K.
JK.
JK,
yeah.
and then the
That's the
PI was
sub-by.
W.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but the other one didn't. it didn't seem the same to me. I was like, I wonder what happened. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it was something I just didn't.
Yeah, and that'd be something you would want to clarify too with the site. Like, who is this? It probably goes back to the initials.
Mm-hmm.
Or the signatures.
Okay.
But I know JK was the sub-I for that
Sub-I,
study.
yeah.
WC was the
Was
PI.
the PI? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, from that study. And for this one is different. The one you're gonna monitor. What else did you catch? Regular.
I noticed. So now, another one of the other subjects didn't come. Like I didn't see visit 7 and 8. There was nothing for them. So I guess it was blank.
That 3?
Yeah, huh? Visit 7 and 8. Like I didn't see anything. It was just blank. So I was wondering. I assumed they didn't come. They didn't come
Right,
from those
but you
particular
didn't see any
studies.
note saying patient withdrew
Not
or anything?
within there, but I think I saw a note in one of the other documents because it was all over the place saying, I don't know, they chose not to do blood draw or something like that.
Okay.
So
yeah.
it kind of, I was like, okay,
They
so
can
what
refuse,
happens
yeah.
in that?
So, yeah, like you bring up a good point. The site needs to document the narrative because audits happen years after the study's closed, usually. And chances are those people at the site who know the story are not going to be there at that time. And it's going to be somebody new, like Kobe,
That they don't know. That doesn't
and
know.
they have no clue. And then they can't even read because there's nothing written down. So as a CRA, you're supposed to encourage sites to document exactly what happened. Was this a withdrawal consent, an early termination? You know, whenever a patient withdraws consent, they're supposed to be encouraged for an early termination visit.
Okay.
It's a ET. It's called ET.
Okay.
ET, early term. Now, the patient can refuse, but it has to be documented that it was offered and the site encouraged the early term visit. And what are you supposed to collect at this visit?
Any leftover IP?
That's right.
Okay.
That's the most important. And then, of course, all the safety assessments too. And then how do you, let's say that patient is not the PI's patient. Do you notify their doctor? Or,
I notify because
the site.
at that site,
Yeah.
right? I'd let the PI know because this PI oversight comes in place, right? Because
Right,
it's
but
that particular
the patient's not the PI's patient.
patient. Okay, that particular PI's patient.
Okay.
I'd
You know,
call
and I'm not
the
guessing.
doctor's office.
Okay. But what if the patient didn't authorize you to let them know? The site.
The site.
Because they have to sign a separate form. I refuse or I allow
Okay.
the PI to notify my PCP, primary care physician.
You can't notify them then.
If they left that blank,
not-
you
yeah.
can.
cannot notify.
Okay.
But you document
You
that
have to
you talked to the
document it.
patient and you recommended the patient go talk to the.
Okay.
But as long as it's documented, that's another theme.
Documented.
Documentation.
Document. You can't document enough. Even like experienced people, when they try to cut corners because to them it's obvious, it's not obvious to someone that's gonna look at it years later. Like those blank visits that you saw. I mean, it was probably obvious, like so obvious to that coordinator that he didn't even bother to write it down, but it's not obvious to you a year later. And you're good at finding that stuff. Imagine if there's someone that's like mediocre. So you can't assume things are obvious. But yeah, those are like the type of questions you get in the interviews too. And tomorrow we're gonna do more of like a little bit of the CV defense. Like how do you, like you were asking me about the overlap. I can explain that. Anything else you find?
You said before you go on. You said on the early termination, you're gonna gather obviously any remaining investigational product.
Yes.
What'd you say? You said right after that something else you would
All the other safety assessments, like ECG. So every protocol will have like early term and a schedule of events,
Okay.
and it will have like boxes for everything that needs to get done. Now,
Okay.
patient can refuse anything, you know, like they don't even have to go to the early term,
Okay.
but site should document that they encourage them to do it.
Okay.
If
Alright.
it's not documented, then the
It didn't
FDA is
happen.
going to think you didn't do it.
Okay. Okay.
And I remember for class you kept pushing for the calibration of the equipment and
Yeah,
stuff.
make sure it's calibrated.
So is that something that's documented anywhere?
Yeah, good question. So you should ask for calibration logs.
Oh, they have that. Okay.
Yeah, do they ask that in this report?
No, I know. It's just something that
I haven't
don't
seen
know.
that. I think we found a glitch in the report. I think that falls under the is facility still adequate,
Okay.
but it should be more clear. But yes, you as the CRA can request that from the site. Yeah, I think that falls under the lab facilities. Are the facilities still adequate? It's on page 1. I don't have my page 1.
No, I graded.
Oh, you
this
got-
one, so
okay.
I didn't have.
Does the study facilities continue to be acceptable?
Mhm.
So, but that's very vague. But that would
Yeah,
include
That would go in that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this, even though these questions right here was what initially stumped me, because these questions are vague unless you're familiar with that site, I guess.
Right, right. But if it's your first monitoring visit, you're not necessarily familiar with it, so you can just put. I mean, you
Unless
would
there's
put
something-
yes.
Okay, unless it's
Unless-
something that just,
Yeah, there's something like glaringly wrong.
okay.
Like it's 100 degrees in the office, and you know the IP is not.
Let's elaborate on that. When you say glaringly wrong, what things have you seen or heard that's just like, oh hell no. 100 degrees in the office, I get that.
Seeing patients, like IP storage is a big one.
The
Okay.
double lock. The double lock. right?
Yeah,
What's
if
the
you
double
observe that it's not being
Secure.
maintained properly, and you
Okay.
just see like tons of foot traffic in and out, and you know there's no way that's like restricted access.
Okay.
That's one. Another one is like the temperature. Like if you're sweating and it's like 85, and you know your IP range for your study is like up to 72,
Okay.
I would look at that. Those kind of things. Another
Okay.
thing is like you keep going to the site and you don't see the PI. Ever.
Okay.
Like that's another one. Or if
Does that happen? Obviously
yeah,
it happens.
it
when
happens
you say that.
a lot.
Okay.
PI oversight.
Okay.
Or you ask a PI something that he's supposedly doing, and he has no clue what you're talking about. I mean, your brother knows. You ask your brother.
No, I mean he's going to get a whole
Yeah.
litany of questions. Now that I have a, now that I'm understanding this more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Those are glaringly wrong things to me, and I would even like the not seeing the PI thing. If I can still talk to the PI,
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay with it. But if I don't see him there, and there's like patient visits going on, and he's not there, and there's no sub-I there either, it's kind of a red flag.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll do it right now.
Okay.
And I want Jackie to inspire them. Yeah.
Not me. The other Jackie.
That's right. She's Jackie too.
Yeah, the other Jackie, not me. You keep looking over like
Hey,
me.
I didn't even realize that there's two Jackies. It didn't even hit me. She's Jacqueline.
the
Jacqueline.
the female version of Jackie.
Yes, Jacqueline.
Yeah, my sister Jacqueline.
Really?
I have a sister named Jackie.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And my dad named Jackie.
All right, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Those are to me. Those are obvious.
Okay.
Also, as another obvious thing is constant deviations. So, okay, this one we could wrap it up on this. Do you know what a kappa plan is? Kappa plan?
No.
I
don't know.
think I
haven't seen it.
remember.
So, you know when informed consent is updated
Mm-hmm.
and the patients have to re-sign it?
Mm-hmm.
That was the question I
Oh yeah.
talked about.
Mm-hmm. We
Okay.
talked about that.
So if the site forgets one of the patients to re-sign it, but then they get him to re-sign it at their next visit. So they just had one visit where they forgot, but then the next visit they caught it. I mean, that's a deviation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not super serious. If the site is having every single patient miss,
That's a problem.
okay, that's a problem, and those are a bunch of deviations, and you're
Okay.
supposed to have the site do a corrective action, preventative action plan.
Um,
Alright, Kappa plan. What's the corrective action? And then what's the preventative action to make sure this does not happen again? And then retrain the site on that issue. So you can do another training log just for that issue.
Mm.
The training log can be titled, and you can write on this, ICF amendment reconsent. Whoever's in charge of ICF on the delegation log needs to sign that, and you're the trainer.
Mm.
So those kind of things to prevent
The
bigger things from occurring.
Do you have to? I guess you have to review the SOP. Would that be covered within
Yeah,
there?
that would be too.
Okay.
Like, what does the SOP say about that?
Mm-hmm.
SOP. I'm sure the SOP says they're supposed to do it. So that means now that they're not following their SOP,
Mm.
which is a huge finding from the FDA. That's like one of the FDA's biggest findings.
Mm.
But lately the FDA only cares about one thing, and that's PI oversight.
Mm.
So if you go in a job interview and get stumped on anything, any question,
Mm-hmm.
just think back to PI oversight.
Mm.
PI's got to document, PI's got to be involved. You're communicating this to the PI, PI
They have to
signing
know everything
things.
that's going on with that
Yes.
site, and hands have to be in touch. They have to touch
Yes.
it.
And if you get the sense that that's not happening, that's a glaringly obvious sign that you need to have that conversation with the PI.
Okay.
I haven't had to have that conversation yet with the PI that I've been monitoring.
Mm.
So if I'm following this overall big picture, there are definitely steps to do the day-to-day activity of this position of a CRA.
Yeah.
But what I'm gathering on sitting out here on the left somewhere is that what is your gut feeling about what's going on with this site as you look at these hardcore documents?
Correct.
And if it feels shady, whatever, you need to dig into it a little bit more to find
Yeah.
out what's going on.
Bring it up with the site first.
Obviously, yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, before you report them.
Okay.
But then if that's not getting anything resolved, and you should document in your report too. I noticed that the PI was not here. I did talk to him on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I will follow up. I discussed that next time he should make every effort to be there. You know, you're documenting it on your end,
Okay.
on the report. Because this report protects you also. Because the FDA can audit these too.
Right, because that's my brother that did tell me. They come look at you too.
Oh yeah, they can.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're not documenting properly, I mean, I don't know what the FDA can do to a CRA, unless
But
like
they
you're
can't look at
involved
you,
in
though.
fraud. Yeah, like if the
Right.
CRA is doing fraud, the FDA can fine them. But I've heard there's cases of jail for CRAs. I think they were like
He's
in
told me
cahoots. Yeah.
He's literally told me that.
So he would know more about
some CRA
that
said
than
that he
I.
knows have gone to jail. Yeah.
Probably because they got in cahoots with the PI on something, and yeah.
Yes.
So I can totally see that happening. But other than that, like this really helps you defend your job. Like if months later a bigger issue is at the site, you can say, go check my report. I already brought that up.
We call it CYA.
Yeah, CYA.
We call it CYA. all day
That's
long.
right.
All day long.
That's what it is. It's going to help you in the long run.
And me being in the training field, I always say this to my guys. Like, if it's not documented, it did not happen.
That's right. The same thing here.
Yeah.
Look at visit 7 and 8 are missing. I don't know what happened. But that
And we-
coordinator thought it was so obvious he didn't need to write it down.
And this is so funny because we have a program that we use, Air Force Wise, for training. And I tell them all the time that it's August. You're not going to remember what happened with this guy back in January or February, whatever the case may be. You're not going to remember. You're not going to remember last month, much less 6, 7, 8, 9 months
Of
ago.
course. Imagine 4 years later.
Exactly. And there's been and there's no history of training being done.
So that translates perfectly to
It
this.
really does. That's what I'm having to find myself now, putting myself in that mindset. Like,
Yeah.
well, not even put myself in that mindset, but just maintain the same mindset that I've had.
Yeah, think of that report as no different than from the Air Force.
Right.
I mean, same thing. I'm sure they have Kappa plans too. They just call it something else.
No, we actually, it's not called Kappa, but we actually have to do if something happens, we have to do a Commander's eval. That's what we call it.
Okay, that's what it's called.
Yeah.